Welcome to the National Veterans Show. Is another segment and this is our first segment for 2025, and we are very excited and look forward to many more episodes this year and for the years to come. In the show, we showcase veterans, military spouses, uh, people connected with the community, people who love the veterans, people who love to support our veteran community, and kind of interview them to see how they collaborate, how they participate, and how they want to support or need a support from veterans in their communities. Today we have a great guest. Asif is um, a considered a guru in the cyber environment, AI environment, and this is something that is new to many of us, and it's evolving industry, evolving technology, evolving knowledge. So I'm really looking forward to us. I see a few questions, and also what type of experiences he had during his military career. So if you're ready, please come on the show and there you go. There you are. Well, thank you, Asif, for agreeing to do the interview. And like I said, we're really excited about learning what you have to share with us and our audience about what you do and how that connects, or how did you connect that to your military experience? And based on the screen, you are Air Force, correct?
Yes, somehow they let me in. So
Somehow.
somehow they allowed me in, and I was able to serve for 10 years, and it has been a great pleasure and a great amount of learning and growing. And nowadays, I've been out for 10 years. I've been a military veterans for 10 years now, and I can say I'm proud of both the active duty and being a veteran. And thank you so much for having me in this show, because this is about military veterans, and I've been really advocating and being involved in veteran spaces, veteran community with the VSOs for last 10 years, and it has been a tremendous amount of opportunities for me to grow even outside the military after active duty. Thank you.
Absolutely, and that's you're very welcome, and thank you for being part of our community and being able to collaborate, participate, network, and all the great things that happen when we kind of come together. And I
Absolutely.
really appreciate that. And really appreciate that. Now, quick quick question on. We'll start with the military part of it, and then once you get out of you finish your 10 years and you were out of the military. How was your transition for you? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in a hindsight, look back in time, it was the most beautiful time of your life, because you've seen yourself grow. Almost felt like, somewhere in the dark, all of a sudden you start seeing lights.
mm,
So I would say my transition was difficult at that time, but nothing really seems more difficult after you went through that period of life to say, yep, I've been there. Many other people have experienced the same as me, but now that I have moved on past that point, it feels like a lessons learned, right? So
right.
transition wise, I will tell you the difficulty of transition. For not everybody's not the same, but for me, what it was is that I went from physical security to digital security. And what that means is that, I had a lot of confidence that, how bad could it be? Physical security, there's physical
Right.
security, there's digital security. I'll just do digital part of it. And it's not the same, right? Because for 10 years you've done physical security, you've been trained for it, and that means you have to go through a training for digital security. And training is never easy, and transition, of course, is much harder after military, out of military. But one of the things that I will say, transitional period, that was the most beautiful part of it, is that you had so much support, support that acknowledged that you needed support, but once you were able to reach out to them, you've gotten more support. Because once people heard your voice, they were able to reach out and give you the support that you needed. And I always look back in time and look through my one mentor that was assigned to me through Winter Warrior Project. Even to this day, we're BFF, right? Best friends.
Okay.
So it's just one of the beauty of being a military veteran and going through the transition is to experience each other's transitions and learn from it. As you learn, you're able to speak up for what it is that you need, and that I think made the transition much less of difficulty and easier to.
Mhm. Yes, and the reason why I ask you that question is because many of us who transition, we feel at that moment, at that time, that that is only happening to us. Like,
That's
oh my God, so we feel very individual approach to it,
that's
but
right.
then we learn that
That's
wait a minute, this happened to a lot of us. You
right.
know, a lot of people go through the same process, different scenarios and their own individuality, but we all have to go through that same tunnel, if you will.
Absolutely, and that's how you find your community.
And
That's
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 how you find
that's
your
the community
community.
that's
That you're
realized.
totally right. Totally right.
Yes.
And this is one of the reasons why we started the chamber is because we wanted to kind of provide that bridge, that connectivity, and being able to do our part, a small or big part, do our part in getting that community stronger. Because the community today, the veteran community today, is a lot more, is a lot stronger than it was 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. So it's a lot more connectivity. It's a lot more uh, friendships that get as a result of that.
Yeah,
So
you're right on the point. Absolutely.
awesome, awesome. Well, let me ask you the first. So once you transition out of the military, you went from physical security to digital security. So tell us a little bit of what it is that you do on the digital security.
So first thing I enjoy very much doing is educating everybody about it. So the chair that I sit on, not everybody sit on it every day, and they don't see what I see. So I always like to educate people on it and draw the thread between what it is that they do and how it is that they're impacted by what it is that I do. And digital security wise, there's many things that I have been involved in, but one that I've actually enjoyed the most is educating people about how the bad guys are thinking, right? The
Mm,
psychology of the bad guys. Because if you can think like the bad guys, you can actually say there's a hole somewhere in my defense, right? And that enables them to think differently and prioritize what needs to be actually, safeguarded, right? So I would say digital security wise, you can talk about policies. You can say, these are the bad guys. Well, here's my daily activity. I don't see bad guys on a daily basis, and I don't read the policies on a daily basis. So when do I forget about why I'm interacting in the cyber world and what the threats are? Well, how do I, keep myself, motivated to stay safe in the cyberspace?
mhm.
So there's a lot of this components in digital security that we can talk about, but not everybody needs it in the same way.
Right.
And one of the things that I've been very much advocate of is to tailor it to each individual person to say what you do in the cyberspace matters, and let me understand what it is that you do, and then I'll tell you what it is that you need to think through in order to engage with the cyberspace.
Interesting. Okay. So for us as a community who know little about cybersecurity or AI, what would be like your top three recommendations, suggestions that we should be able to be aware and how to protect our systems or the way we do things?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you have like a top three that
yeah.
you can suggest?
Yeah, well, first of all, you really have to think through what it is that you do in cyberspace, right? So either you're using social media, and when I say system is could be as small as your iPhone, right?
Mm,
Your laptop. So the bad guys always have the incentive to go after you, right? But one of the things you have to think about is that they're not coming after you specifically. What they're doing is they're targeting hundreds and thousands of people all at once.
mm,
It just happens to be that you fell into that trap that one time, and now they're targeting you specifically. Because what they're looking for is a weak point, right? So when they go after, say, hundreds of thousands of devices all at once, because they were able to write a instructions for the computers to say, go after these devices and see which one responds. And so once you respond to that, now they say, okay, who do I go after? The bad guys will say, who do I go after? You just happen to be on the maybe say top 100
Mm.
because they cannot handle hundreds of thousands of all at once. They handle a few hundreds at a time. So when you are in that in a list, a short list, you are you're pretty much being walked into like a say scam, some sort of social engineering, or some sort of like say cryptocurrency scams that you've heard about. So you have many ways that they will try to interact with you. So once you start realizing that you're being targeted and there's an interaction between you and the bad guys, you kind of have to step back and say, all right, what are some of the things that I have to do? So first thing you do is you identify that you're being targeted, and then start thinking about, okay, now that I'm being identified as a victim here, how do I label this properly, so that way I can minimize the damage, right? So if you think about what I just said, in a personal level, it's the same goes for enterprises, right? If you have hundreds of thousands of people that are working in your organization, you have to protect them all. How would they protect themselves? Same thing
Right.
goes for an individual. How do you protect yourself? So you made it identify. You're going through a process of identifying the fact that you've been targeted, and now you have to label it correctly and say, where do I stop these tracks, right? Of course, that's your Google search. Use Chat GPT or AI systems to say, how do I prevent this from going even further, right?
Hmm.
Um, so there's multiple stages of attacks, but at the same time, once you know that you've been targeted and you're being attacked, you have ways to deflect or minimize the damage at that point. So always be proactive about understanding these attacks ahead of time. I think
Hmm.
that's the key here. That's what you have to understand, that you're able to identify these things because you proactively researched and understood how these scams work, how these social engineering works, what do these information sounds like, right?
Right.
One of the top ones that you can talk about is grandmas that get scammed because of these gift cards from
Right.
CVS or Walmart's, right?
Right. Right.
They walk up to Walmart, they're about to buy a gift card, and somebody proactively says, Grandma, are you sure you're buying this gift card because some scammer is telling you to do it? Because see, everybody's able to identify these sort of symptoms of what's
Hmm.
happening. So grandmas are not necessarily proactively trying to stop the scammers, but we have to be proactive to say, look out for each other, right? Because you're
Right.
educating yourself, you educate other people with it. So I would say those three things: identify, label, and educate yourself ahead of time is the key takeaway.
Okay. That's very, very insightful. Thank you very much. Now, how in your world, how important is to have a kind of strong password, or all those things that, two level entry, or in any of those things? How is that helpful?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that you don't want to have the comfort of knowing is that regardless of how much protection there is, it's always about deflecting. There isn't a defense actually that you can be say is 100% sure there's this two multi-factor authentication or this hard password or strong password will keep me safe. Because it's a matter of, if you have say $5 in a bank account and you have $500,000 in a bank account, you are definitely a target because you have $500,000 in your bank account, right? That $5 guy will also get a tag, but once they find out that he has $5, they will have more interest on your 500,000 than five, right? So
So,
if somebody has that much incentive to break into your bank account or your information or whatever the case is, they will go after you and they will try really hard to get into that bank account.
right.
And how they do it, it's again that identifying, label, and educating yourself about that process. And just to throw AI into the mix, these processes are getting far more sophisticated, right?
I know they
Uh,
are, man.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, like, we're thinking about the $500,000. Like, well, what do? You kind of take it out of the bank and bury him in the backyard, or so they don't find it. But it's not possible in this world to function without having exposure. And especially nowadays, like, there is no cash available anywhere. All the things function based on how things get in the digital world. So I know I told you that this shows go really fast, very interesting topic, and we barely covered the surface. So tell us how, if someone was to have a need for either protection or prevention, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, the reason most likely you will get in touch with me is because you're thinking about artificial intelligence. And if you have the need for cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, you should get hold of me and ask me about why cybersecurity is the top use case for artificial
Hmm.
intelligence. Because when people think about AI and cybersecurity, they think it's two different realms. Actually,
Oh,
AI is the biggest supplementary use case of AI. I mean, cybersecurity. So if you're getting touch with me, you have my email address, you have my LinkedIn, and we do podcast called IEIEI, which is to articulate the fact that it's not that easy, right? So it's either you're very excited about AI or you are just so humbled by AI, or you're just down by AI. You
right.
can express many emotion using that IEIEI. So for us, if you're looking to learn more about how to learn more about military transition and how during the military transition you can use AI, uh, check out our podcast. We talk a lot about that. We talk about startup business ideas about AI, and my favorite is the hardware part of things.
Mm.
So if you feel like you have a few minutes to watch an episode of AI podcast, III is your go-to podcast. And if you have more questions, I'm definitely looking forward to sharing my numbers with you, and having a one-on-one, which I do most frequently on a weekly basis.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and taking time today to do the interview with us. And we definitely look forward to continue our conversation. This is a very specific topic that I'm sure every business, every house needs to have some type of knowledge, basic or advanced. So we're going to end the show, but please stay back, and I have some questions offline that I would like to kind of have a conversation with you about. But in the meantime, thank you very much for the show. And we'd love to have you back and revisit this topic one more time.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And this concludes our session today for the Veterans Show. And today we had a very interesting topic, very current topic, cyber protection, AI, and topics that we may or may not know enough in order to protect ourselves correctly. So we want to thank our guest Asif for his contribution to the show, and we look forward to having him back and cover even an expanded version of the topic. But for now, thank you very much for participating in our show, and we look forward to having you in our next veteran show. Have a